20 scary stories that are 100% true. According to Reddit. Number 20. Thank you, Brady.
Missed you all less than 3.
I got told this story the other day. There was a girl in England who had been using the Tinder app and met a guy and planned to go on a date with him. He picked her up from her apartment and they went to a restaurant. However, during the entree, just started to feel ill and asked him to drop her off at home. While at home, she went straight upstairs to her room and was just chilling in bed as she felt ill. Eventually, she hears something downstairs, and as she lives alone, she's freaked out and calls the police. They come to realize there was an intruder in the home. Eventually, the police come and arrest the dude that she had been on a date with, but tell her not to come downstairs until they can clean up. The police beg her not to, but she insists, as it's her house. She comes down the stairs, and all the furniture in her lounge has been moved to the sides. There were white sheets covering everything, and a set of machetes lined up perfectly. Her date had planned to murder her and had spiked her drink, and this was why she felt ill. Damn. How about that Tinder? As we continue up the list, we arrive at number 19. Check out the murder of Junko Furuta. To summarize, 44 days of hell for a girl who was kidnapped by teenage boys. She went through every possible torture imaginable and finally died after she was pushed to her limits. A mangaka called Waita Uziga made an adaptation. I could not even finish reading it without feeling physically sick. According to the Wikipedia, they raped her over 400 times. They hung her body from the ceiling and used her as a punching bag. They dropped barbells onto her stomach several times, forced her to eat live cockroaches and drink her own urine. They forced her to masturbate in front of her, or them. They shoved a still-lit light bulb into her genitals. They set fireworks into her anus, vagina, mouth, ears. They burnt her genitals with cigarettes and lighters. They pierced her breasts with sewing needles. Their horrific nature comes from the complete lack of empathy from her captors, who looked like completely innocent youngsters. The fact that she was a random girl who was at the wrong place at the wrong time. She could eventually be saved by the couples living in the building, but they feared the teenage boys. Imagine having the hope that you'll eventually make it out with your soul because you want to see your family again until your body finally shuts down due to exhaustion. I've never felt more rage personally for such a disturbing story. I've read this many times on this channel, but here's a picture of Junko Furuta in case you are interested. The world's an evil place. Number 18. My first post on this account was an encounter that happened to me just a month ago. The link is here. And yes, I'm still waiting on the police report. So, as we follow the link, we arrive at Let's Not Meet. Ooh. The post is entitled, "The Xbox Live Stalker. I had a stalker from Xbox Live try to find me at work 2 days ago on Monday. Jinx. Thank you. I appreciate this. And I appreciate you. I had a stalker from Xbox Live try to find me at work 2 days ago.
My lord, this has me in my feels.
Thank you, Prelude. Y'all making me want to do something real quick. How about that? I have it. The perfect idea. Let me see here. Give me that. Just take a look at Junko Furuta. Pretty fucked up shit. Let me continue through this, and I'll fix it as we continue. I had a stalker from Xbox Live try to find me at work 2 days ago on Monday. I'm only 17 and work second shift at my local movie theater. This will be relevant later. It was Friday night. My weekend had just begun. I was on Xbox Live playing Overwatch, eating now cold pizza like lots of my friends were. I was kicking considerable ass, more than I usually would at this game, and I was on fire. For non-Overwatch players, it's basically meaning that you're doing really well. For 3 matches. At around 2 a.m. I decided to step up my game and go into competitive mode. I got into a match on a certain map and I was playing a flying character on defense. I got a 15-player kill streak, but I noticed that 5 of those kills were on the same guy. A Bastion, a stationary turret class. I remember his username. The match goes on for about another minute, and then I get an invite to a party. The gamer tag was the same as the Bastion I just killed. For the 6th time. I wasn't in a party, since all of my friends had called it a night, except for me at that point. I decided that whatever he wanted to say could be interesting, so I add him. Now, I usually expect some kids a few years younger than me to be talking shit here, but to my surprise, it was a grown man on the other end. More to my surprise, he sounded in his 30s, rather than closer to my age. He had a thick Spanish accent. Immediately, this guy starts cussing me out. I can't lie when I say I half expected this to happen when I got into the party. Now, I have the mentality where, if you're a jerk to me, I'll return the flavor. Flavor? I replied with the classic, "Oh, you mad, bro?" The guy doesn't acknowledge what I say. Instead of saying that he would fuck my mom like most people did, this guy said, "Oh, well, thank you, Jason Valentino. Scrub." I'm kidding. The guy says, "Fuck you, your entire family. I will make sure to decapitate your mother and make your dad fuck her down the goddamn neck." Well, that's creative. Well done. I was sort of shocked by this, but it didn't last. "Bro, take a fucking chill pill. No, I want you to..." He stopped. I noticed why. A diva on our team had just killed his character again. Now this is where things get scary. It sounded as if he turned into a rabid animal that was trying to suffocate itself on the mic and screaming and howling and spitting all at the same time. It's difficult to describe exactly what sound he was making, but the closest that I could come to was the description that I just laid out. They were inhumane noises coming from this guy, as if he was being gutted and possessed by a demon at the same time. It was a grown man, too, which made the entire thing scary compared to laughing my ass off when a 12-year-old loses it. The match ended. The enemy team didn't even get the payload moving. The man loses his shit some more because he lost, then I decide to be an asshole again and take this clearly crazy guy's shit. "Look, it's not my fault you suck at the game. You're just being treated like the child you really are. Grow the fuck up, man." The Spanish guy didn't like this. He just hollered, "Fuck you." That's a really nice Thanks, bitch. Into the microphone. For no joke, 20 seconds. It started getting all crackly. He was being so loud that he was breaking his mic. He then removed me from the party, decided that since the match was over, I decided to call it a night, just like my friends had previously. My overall reaction to what went down was, okay, that was something. I logged out, turned off my Xbox, and went to bed. As soon as my head hits the pillow, I realized how much of a dumbass I was for not recording any of it. It's true. You were. My friends would have fucking lost it when they heard it. Then I fell asleep. Saturday went by with nothing, and I thought that was with this pissed off Spanish guy. Sunday was after Saturday. Congratulations. And I logged onto my Xbox that morning to play more Overwatch. I noticed I had a message from the guy saying, "Good morning, my full name. I know you have to go to address of the movie theater that I work at tomorrow." What the fuck? I said aloud. I decided to pull out my phone and take a picture of the TV's. Why, thank you for the subscription, saltiest legend. You know I appreciate that. And I appreciate you, baby. I appreciate you. The only legend here. Let me not. I appreciate you. As we continue. I then texted my boss about it after taking a picture of the screen and told her that some guy... Whoa, what the fuck? Snails with the tails as well? Well, thank you. You guys are just hot fire, you know that? Wow. How can it be so amazing? That's gonna be the new one for right now. Yeah, I got it all figured out. I appreciate you, Snails, and thank you. Thank you, Prelude, for that donation as well. I wonder if I can do something about that. I have an idea. An idea that it will take me a strange amount of time to implement. As we continue this entry, I took a picture of the TV screen and then texted the boss about it, told her that some guy on Xbox found out where I walked. What? Now, my boss is a bitchy old lady, so she naturally didn't care what happened on Xbox. Even though it concerned my work, she just blew it off and told me that I needed to come in the next day. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and The Incredibles 2 are both so hot right now, they blowing up out here in these streets, so we're going to be busy. Busy as hell. I ended up coming in the next day at 5:30 and it was pretty boring, busy like I predicted, up until around 8 o'clock, when a super short guy came in through the door. It was loud and pretty crowded, but the guy fucking hollers my full name. Same thick Spanish accent from Xbox. Oh fuck. It was him. To this day, I don't know where he got my info from or why he decided to come all the way out to where I worked, but the theater fell silent. I just walked to the back room where my boss was, told her that the guy from Xbox was inside. She repeated the whole "I don't care what happens to you on Xbox, get back to work, we're busy," the rant that she texted me. I repeat to her that the guy was inside the building. I didn't know if he wanted to hurt me or not and that I was going to call the cops. I ended up actually calling the cops. It wasn't until they arrived and spoke to me privately in the back room that my boss ended up taking me seriously. The Spanish guy was still inside the lobby, and the cops put him in cuffs and walked him out. This is according to my boss. I was in the back room, so I couldn't witness it. I still haven't heard anything from the police, and I don't know how he found my info or why he came all the way to where I worked, and I still don't know what happened or with what he planned to do to me. Either way, I'm still a bit shaken up by it. I don't know if it's my home address that he knows as well either. I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be on guard for ever now. Bing my bong. Does this go anywhere? So, insane pissed guy from Xbox Live that stalks teenagers and visits them. I hope I never have to meet you again. Oh, this isn't over. You can rest assured, baby. You can rest assured. Bing bong. So that's that. All of number 18. Jesus. Number 17. There are a lot of scary stories from the Cold War. For instance, we almost obliterated North Carolina by accident when a nuke being transported by a bomber was actually accidentally released. In the Soviet Union, the alarm signaling an impending nuclear strike from a US went off, and it came down to one man's judgment call to whether or not to retaliate. The alarm was faulty, and thankfully that gentleman had enough sense not to hit a red button that would launch the USSR's nukes. One man, one desire. As we continue to number 16. One day we will be so physically debilitated that some young nurse aide will be changing our diapers and feeding us every day while we just sit around waiting to die. This is so not true, because half of you will die either from a heart attack or a car accident or something abrupt that you won't see coming. Stray bullet, brain aneurysm, tumor, cancer. The list goes on. You aren't guaranteed your next minute, dudes. So try to limit the petty squabbles you have with people, even if they're in the wrong and misunderstand you. Every single. Number 15. There was a serial killer known as the weepy-voiced killer. He would kill people and call 911 from a payphone, crying and begging them to catch and stop him. You can find the recordings of his 911 calls on YouTube. You couldn't even link it for me, could you? You couldn't even link it for me. It's like I'm expected to do some part of this job. Can you imagine? Unbelievable. Let's see if this is it.
Don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry what I did to Compton. I couldn't help it. Don't know why I had to stab her.
This is the scary part, is that the guy is aware that what he's doing is bad and that he can't stop, so he's calling and pleading, but they can't catch him.
If I get locked up, I'll kill myself.
He's wow. You know.
Try not to kill anybody else.
Oh boy.
Fire emergency.
Please don't talk.
And then and please don't talk, just listen.
I'm sorry I killed that girl. I stabbed her 40 times. Kimberly Compton was the first one. Oh my God. I don't know what's the matter with me. I'm gonna kill myself, I think.
Where are you?
If somebody dies with a red pin on it, it's me. I killed both of you. I'm sorry. I'll never make it to heaven.
Calm down.
That's freaking crazy, dude. This guy would kill and then call the police and cry while blabbering his confession before he took flight. Like, he would flee before they got there and they couldn't catch his ass, and he would beg them to catch him. Please stop me. Oh my God. Number 14. A guy was killed and cannibalized on a Greyhound bus by another passenger because apparently there were voices telling him to do it. So if you're ever jumping on a Greyhound bus, take a look next to you and know that that guy could eat you, but not before killing you. Tim MacLeod. Thank you, Jinx. The killing of Tim MacLeod occurred the evening of July 30th, 2008. MacLeod was a 22-year-old Canadian man, and he was stabbed, beheaded, and cannibalized while riding a Greyhound Canada bus around 19 miles west of Portage, Manitoba. Jesus Christ. According to witnesses, MacLeod was sleeping with his headphones on when the man sitting next to him suddenly produced a large knife and began stabbing MacLeod in the neck and chest. The bus driver pulled to the side of the road so that he and all the passengers could exit the vehicle. The attacker then decapitated MacLeod and displayed his severed head to the passengers standing outside. The driver and 2 other men had attempted to rescue MacLeod but were chased by Lee, who slashed at them from behind locked bus doors. Lee then went back to MacLeod's body and began severing other parts and consuming some of the victim's flesh. Need I go on? Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Thank you, Linda. Jesus Christ. What the fuck?
Boom shaka laka.
Thank you, Prelude. It's just not working, though. As we continue up this list, we arrive at number 13. The story of Vladimir Komarov, a cosmonaut who was burned to a crisp on the re-entry into the atmosphere. This was caused by someone on the job screwing up, and he made them promise that he would have an open casket funeral so that everyone can see what happens when you screw up on the team of a space crew. The picture is pretty not safe for life, and they say that he screamed bloody murder as he was being burnt to death. Pretty sure you can find that recording as well, if you are so inclined. Here's the picture. It's just a charred body. That's all that remained of the guy, coming back down. So, I've read this many times. I've, had this included in many past lists. And I'll say what I said then, is that at least this guy's name will go down in history because of the way that the space or race with America was, because of the nature of it. It means that there are many men that were strapped to a rocket. Thank you, Maora. There were many men who were strapped to a rocket whose names will never be known or celebrated because they were failed missions. They were people who volunteered for the good of their country, for the good of progress, to try to do what no men had done before, and because they were not successful, and through whoever's error or through trial and error, they just died. And because the shame associated with failure could not be acceptable as far as Russia is concerned, their names are swept under the rug, just like their ashes, if they weren't, disintegrated in the atmosphere on the way up or down. Not a joke, or I guess a dark joke. I'm not here to get monetized. Number 12, I'm thinking of Anatoly Sklivko. That guy actually made it into the rhyme of one of my raps on my channel.
Yes, he did.
But not everything's about you, Kyle. Link describes the story with a video for anyone who is a little morbid. The TLDR is that this man tricked kids into reenacting hanging scenes for a movie that he was making. Oh boy. The video shows them being hung, and you can see the moment that they realize that they're actually going to die. Oh boy. Well, that's something I can't show on this channel, so you guys are going to have to be a little, I want to say investigative if what you want to do is look some of that shit up. Just to read into the murders here, I'll read this for you. I wonder if I can make this a little bit bigger. God damn it. For anybody who's trying to follow along. Anatoly Slivko was born on December 28, 1938 in the Soviet Union. He lived in Stavropol and was a married father of 2 children. He had known since the onset of puberty that his sexual orientation had been homosexual. Ooh. In 1961, Slivko witnessed a traffic accident in which a drunken motorcyclist had swerved into a group of pedestrians, fatally injuring a boy in his early teens who was wearing a young pioneer's uniform. For reasons Slivko would later insist he could never explain, the scene had sexually excited him. He later recalled the accident vividly. The boy had experienced convulsions in his death throes while he was dying, as the smell of gasoline and fire permeated the air. Beginning in 1963, Slivko exploited his position at the children's club that he ran to relive the fantasies of this accident. Once or twice a year, he would form a close friendship with a boy who usually was aged between 12 and 15 years old, but never older than 17. The boy would be short for his age. He'd be wearing a young pioneer's uniform, just like the boy Slivko had seen die in the traffic accident. Slivko would gain the boy's confidence and tell him of an experiment that he knew which involved a controlled hanging into unconsciousness to stretch the spine, after which the boy was assured Slivko would revive him. Prior to each boy undertaking this experiment, Slivko would purchase a new uniform for the victim to wear and shine his shoes. In addition, to prevent vomiting, the victim was required to not eat for several hours before the experiment. Once the boy was unconscious, Slivko would strip him naked, caress and fondle him, take films in which he would arrange the body in suggestive positions, and masturbate. Son of a bitch, I thought I was reading the fucking murders part. Over the course of 22 years, Slivko persuaded 43 boys to take part in contrived experiments. In 36 cases following this established ritual of photography, filming, and repeated masturbation, Slivko revived these boys. Cautioned by Slivko into silence, these individuals resumed their lives unaware of what happened to them, whilst most had been unconscious while it happened. However, in several cases, Slivko's behavior became violent. Once these victims were unconscious, he dismembered their bodies, poured gasoline on their limbs, torso, and set their remains on fire to remind himself of the traffic accident which had sparked his arousal. Slivko typically retained the victim's shoes as a memento. Oh boy. Oh fuck me. As with his surviving victims, he both photographed and filmed the entire process. And with both the boys, he subsequently revived his victims. Ew. He would take the films and photographs that he had taken of the entire process to his home and subsequently develop these materials in a home laboratory. The pictures and films served as stimuli for Slivko's masturbatory fantasies for several months or years until he needed fresher stimuli and killed again. On June 2nd, 1964, Slivko killed his first victim, a 15-year-old runaway boy named Nikolai Dobryshev. Slivko claimed his particular victim was killed unintentionally, being unable to revive Dobryshev once he was unconscious. He dismembered the boy's body, buried him, also destroying the film and photographs that he had taken of that particular victim. In May 1965, Slivko killed his second victim, Alexei Kovalenko. Slivko began operating a club for boys named Chergid. in 1966, after his club had been destroyed in a fire. 8 years later, on November 14th, 1973, a 15-year-old boy named Alexander Nezmayanov disappeared in Nevinomisk. 2 years later, on May 11th, 1975, an 11-year-old boy named Andrei Pogazyan disappeared. Pogazyan's mother told the police that a man had made some video recordings in a nearby forest and that her son was going to participate. But the police didn't do anything to prevent this because they knew Slivko and that he had won awards for some of his videos. In the winter of 1975, a prison inmate claimed that he knew where Alexander Nezmayanov was buried, but police searched the area and found nothing, proving the claim was false. In 1980, a 13-year-old boy named Sergei Fatsiev, who, along with Nezmayanov and Pogazyan, was a member of Chergid, disappeared. The next victim was a 15-year-old named Vyacheslav Kovistik, who was killed in 1982. In 1985, he killed his final victim, a 13-year-old boy named Sergei Pavlov, who disappeared after telling a neighbor that he was going to meet the leader of Chergid. Jesus. God damn, that scared the hell out of me. Alright, thank you, man.
May the blessings of the snails be upon you.
You obliterated that tip jar, my man. Long story short, this guy is very much dead. They destroyed him as he deserved. Oh my God. He was executed by shooting, too. Fuck him. God, what a monster. Number 10. The story of Mary Vincent. I love true crime, and don't usually get squeamish, but this story is probably the most disturbing true crime story that I have heard yet. Mary Vincent was 15 years old when she decided to run away from home on September 28, 1978. She was hitchhiking along the highway in Soquel, California, standing with two other hitchhikers. Thank you for the cheers, Prelude and Jinx. A man pulled up in a van and said that he had only room for her, but not the others. The man driving the van was 51-year-old Larry Singleton. He offered to drive Mary to the I-5 freeway. As he drove, Mary realized that he had passed the ramp to the I-5 and demanded he turn around. Larry said it was an honest mistake and turned around. Soon after, he pulled her over and told her he needed to go to the bathroom and couldn't wait for a rest stop. When he got out of the van, Mary realized her shoe was untied and got out to tie it. As she was tying her shoelaces, Larry came behind her and hit her over the head with a sledgehammer. He then proceeded to rape and sodomize her, and this is where it gets even worse. Harry took a hatchet and cut off both of her arms, just below the elbow, both. He then threw her down a 30-foot culvert in a canyon and drove off. The most astounding part of the story is that Mary survived. 30 feet. She used what was left of her strength and made her way 3 miles out of the embankment with no arms below the elbow, naked and stumbling down the road when she saw a car. The first car she saw sped away in fear. Can you blame them? The second car she saw was driven by a couple who were on vacation. They stopped the car, helped her into their truck, and drove her to a nearby airport where they were able to get an ambulance and she was taken to a hospital. Mary's a fucking badass. She then testified twice against Larry, but he only served 8 years and 4 months for attempted murder, forcible rape, sodomy, kidnapping, mayhem, and forced oral copulation. Hey. If y'all leave this list with one thing that should scare the living shit out of you, let it be known. The law don't just not work for black people, okay? It doesn't work for any of y'all. And here's hoping you have enough fucking money for the day that's coming, where the law is coming for you. Because if you don't have enough money to make that machine work in your favor, you're gonna be fucked up. You're gonna be fucked up. And just so you know, I can scoop your ass up against your will, take a sledgehammer to the back of your head, chop both your arms off and throw your ass down a canyon. You know what I mean? If you survive and make it, you can't put me away forever, baby. How about that? How about that? That's your legal system at work. Oh, so spooky. Number 9, man. The guy who died in Nutty Putty Cave. Come on now. Why you trying to make a serious list here? He basically crawled into a narrower passageway, thinking that it would eventually open up. He was trapped for many hours, unable to get a full breath. And after he died, they decided it would be too difficult to get him out, so they closed the cave and left him in there. I can't think of anything worse than dealing with that kind of claustrophobia. Well, you're an idiot as well. Hey guys, if you're ever in a cave and you're crawling and the way gets narrower and narrower, get the fuck out. Go back out the way you cave. The way you cave. Oh my God. Man trapped in cave. You know, my only response to that is dur. Does anybody understand that reference? If you understand that reference, I appreciate you. You know, I'll give you a kiss right on the titty. Okay? Curvy moms. I'm kidding. But seriously, that reference is, it's from my favorite mangaka artist. Oh well. That jar's full up. Thanks, guys. Live that life. Looks like that jar's still full. Yeah. So as we continue to number 8, serial rapist Mark O'Leary was caught in 2011 and charged with several rapes. Okay. Now, none of these women's stories are particularly pretty, but there's one woman whose story takes the cake. In 2008, an 18-year-old woman went to the police claiming that she was raped. They didn't believe her and ended up charging her with filing a false report. She had to pay a fine, have a crime on her record, and get this, stay in a subsidizing housing. They made her confess that she made the whole thing up. Her photo was later found among his belongings. Some ladies don't have it easy, man. But to be completely honest, Jesus Christ. God bless her, man. Some ladies don't have it easy, and some of these ladies out here making it harder for them. Some of these ladies out here are the types that would lie about being raped or being attacked by a man because they know that they can just squawk and get attention, you know? But that makes it so much worse for when there's actually a wolf, because all these hoes out here crying wolf when there's nothing. My God, that sucks. Somebody responds, but why don't women come forward? Sarcastically. Well, I hope she got a refund. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Number 7. The story of David Parker Ray. I really can't escape this guy, man. If y'all really want to get into it, just, you know. What do I even say about it? Just, you know, that just... Can I just link that? Damn, Prelude, I appreciate it. Well, he thinks he gonna nuke that jar.
Nuked.
Is that what he thinks? Wow, Prelude's the new stream boss. No. Not that I'm mad about it. Vanessa's just gonna be upset about it. Vanessa's gonna be upset about it. David Parker Ray is the toy box killer. So if you guys want to hear his sick ass his video, that he would play for people that he captured. You can go check that video out. Special props to Prelude, who is now the stream boss. What a scary man he is indeed. Number 7, Ray took a woman to a trailer and attached a dog collar and a leash to her. When she awoke, but blacked out several times during the 2 days of torture and drugging. During this time, Ray noticed that she was breathing and slashed her throat open. Thinking he had killed her, Ray dumped her on the side of the road near Caballo. She later was treated for her injuries at a local clinic. Neither her husband nor police believed her story. Her husband believed that she had been cheating on him the night she was attacked. He filed for divorce, and Garrett relocated to Colorado. You know, I didn't know that.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't know that.
I knew the other shit he did, but
This is horrible. Can you imagine that one of them made it out and they didn't believe her story? Holy shit. Whoa. Somebody said, why the fuck wouldn't they believe her? Like, yeah, let me just slit my own throat so I can pretend someone attacked me just to cover the fact that I cheated on my husband. Oh my God.
She was always a bit melodramatic. Jeez.
You know, it saddens me. As we continue the list, we arrive at number 6. Hometown friend was tripping on mushrooms and saw a couple going at it in the backseat of a neighbor's car. He went in for a closer look and noticed that he was actually witnessing a murder. The next day, the house was flooded with cop cars, but never heard anything more of it. Bruh. Number 5. A relative of mine, distant, like 5th or 6th cousin, was a professional diver for an oil company. He would dive in to check things below the surface at depths great enough to require mixed gas air in the tanks. He had a suit malfunction and had to be kept in one of those pressure chambers to slowly let the gases out of his body. While he was breathing through a sealed face mask, someone changed the tank at the end, and a safety device meant to keep the air from being pulled back through failed. And literally pulled his lungs and stomach out through his mouth, killing him instantly. My mother has the news article somewhere. This was in the late 80s. And it happened off the coast of Louisiana and the Gulf of Mexico. Oh my God. Okay, can we... Number 4. For me, I was walking back home at 11 p.m. when I noticed this hooded guy behind me. I do what I read somewhere you should do and took 3 right turns in a row to see if he was actually following me. He was. I managed to gather all my courage and yelled, "What the fuck do you want?" with the most menacing tone I could muster, and he just turned around and left. You got lucky. Number 3. I work at a pizza place in St. Louis. It's called IMO's. Oh my God. Pretentious. About 10 years ago, there was a guy who was a manager at our store named Michael Devlin. He abducted 2 children in total, but quickly got caught a few days after abducting the second child. The terrifying thing is, he had held the first child, who was 11 when he was abducted, captive for 4 years and pretended that he was his son. The kid even went by the last name Devlin after the whole charade was over. He abducted the second kid by following a school bus to somewhere in Buttfuck, Missouri, somewhere hardly anyone would be able to see him. When he pulled up in his truck, a kid in the back of the bus noticed how it was weird that there was a car in the area other than the usual ones that he saw on most commutes. Next thing he knew, the kid they dropped off went missing. So he gave the police a description of it, and a few days later, after reading the paper, my pizza shop owner, Mike, recognized the description and ended up filing a report on his own manager. Devlin is serving like 70 life sentences or some crazy shit. It's funny. You kidnap 2 kids, you're in jail for life. You sledgehammer a bitch in the back of the head, fuck her, and cut off her arms, you'll be alright. That's under a decade. You'll be out. It's not funny, but the world you live in is scary. I mean, this is the wrong kind of spooky list, isn't it? It's the wrong kind of creepy true stories that you're, suck my balls. As we finalize forgive me. As we finish the, hey guys, you like my little thumbnail that I made here? It's kind of like a fusion of 2 different, let me show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Here's the image that I used for the top portion of the, you know what I'm talking about? And then if I go back, here's the second one. But when I combine them, just a little bit of light Photoshop to bring a thumbnail of a video nobody's gonna watch to life. As we continue up the list of 20 scary stories that are 100% true, we arrive at number 2. I just watched a documentary about Colleen Stan, who survived being kidnapped by a sexual sadist who kept her in a coffin-sized box that he built under his bed, 22 hours a day, for 7 years, while he raped and tortured her. The survivor is the primary interviewee in the documentary and tells her story on camera for most of the documentary. The cops made mention of her bravery and ability to withstand her torture and manipulate her kidnapper to increase her safety. God bless her, man. That's a powerful fucking woman. Because she withstood some terrifying and unbelievable shit. And here's the thing. When you're dealing with a monster that's capable of some cruel shit like that, there's nothing stopping her from killing her. There's nothing stopping this dude from getting bored, killing this bitch, and grabbing him some fresh meat. Grabbing him another one. Because he did it already. He can do it again. In his head. And as far as the law is concerned, the law ain't gonna stop him. They don't care. You know what I mean? The law doesn't give a shit. He wants to stop this dude. You know what I mean? It's as simple as you looking up a porno video and being like, you know what? Today I want me some dark meat. You know, let me put in that ebony for the porn filter. Bruh, he could just have killed this hoe. But this girl had the mind to trick him into keeping this good. You know what I'm talking about? It's some scary shit. But she did it. And most people can't say the same. 7's not a small number. Some people would want to kill themselves after hours. Alrighty. As we reach number 1, I once received a random phone call from a girl who found my number from a Google search of my address on my resume. She was freaking out. Wanted me to check up on her father, who lived a few doors down in an apartment complex that I resided in. While she was still on the phone with me, I walked over to his door, knocked on it, no answer. She pleaded for me to enter, and I got nervous and refused. Instead, I reported the incident to the building manager. The manager said that she would call the police to perform a wellness check. The father had killed himself. Ooh, so spooky. It's not really spooky. It's just a bit of, it's a dose of reality, guys, Some people are around you and they don't have, I don't know, meaning, purpose. they're not satisfied with who they are or where they are or what they have. Maybe they lose sleep over what they've lost, or potential that wasn't realized. Things that they figure they could have managed but can't now. Things that have slipped from their fingers. But what can we do? You know, you gotta push on. You gotta try to help those that need the help. You need to try to extend yourself when you can for those that may or may not deserve it. Who's to say who does and doesn't deserve things? We all deserve the best. Because some people will just snap. And when they don't get the best, they try to dispense the worst on everybody. Oh boy. I'd lighten this up somehow, but I mean, you guys want that terrible stuff. Oh man, I can't get enough of this Sonichu crap. Chris Chan is such a nightmare. Here's hoping you all enjoyed this list and you had an even better night. For those of you watching on YouTube, I appreciate you. Hope that you will be able to follow me on Twitch, where you can get these live, and you know, you won't have to wait a day for it to go out. I'm here if you need me, and I hope that you guys have an even better day tomorrow. Stay crazy. Wait, why did Jesus say for the love of Bing Bong? Jesus said, hey Kyle, are you going to stream the Logan Paul versus KSI fight? You have got me confused with somebody who gives a damn, baby. I think even Logan Paul understands that most people don't give enough of a shit about him to even want to see him get punched in the face, you know? I don't care. And a lot of people shouldn't either. That's kind of why it's working for that guy, because somebody still cares. Oh boy, I'd rather play Fortnite for the rest of my life than watch that video, if that puts it in perspective. Talk about some scary true stories, bro. I would rather play Fortnite just as the exclusive game that I play for the rest of my life. Oh my god. Oh boy. Why do y'all care? Okay, so guys, get a hold of me if you need me. Stay sexy. Stay. Find me some moms, guys. You know, Hannah's working overtime to find me some, you know, curvy moms, because you know I don't want to dismember anybody. I'm not that type of guy. See, nice guy, great guy. Oh, did she fall asleep? Hannah? Oh, Hannah fell asleep. He's in the middle of me reading. I suck. Well, yeah, no, you guys stay awesome, and I'll see you soon. Hope you enjoyed this list. Later.